Welcome to episode 4 of BCC. Today's episode is The Future Belongs to Creators, but only if they survive the present. There are a couple of things that converged this week that led to this post-video podcast. An article from David Sachs, a perfectly timed book on positioning, a phone call with a friend I met at Date with Destiny last year, and the reality of needing to figure some stuff out as soon as possible. What we're really talking about today is marketing. If you've been reading my emails or watching these videos or listening to the podcast, or even just following me online for some time now, you've probably noticed that I'm terrible at marketing. I can come with self-described awesome ideas, and I'm killer at execution, bringing those ideas to life. It's part of why I'm a film producer, because I'm good at it. Marketing, on the other hand, is something that has eluded me for over a decade of building stuff for the world and people around me. That's why it was so crazy that all these things converged this week to give me the insight I was looking for on how to move forward and start getting good at marketing. First, the article from David Sachs. Now, links to everything I'm mentioning today are below or in the show notes. Now, David Sachs in his article talks about the importance of what he calls movement marketing. Here's a quote. If you want to understand how Tesla can become the most valuable car company in the world without needing to spend a dime on advertising, while its competitors futilely buy Super Bowl ads, or why 170,000 people pilgrimage annually to Dreamforce for the opportunity to be sold Salesforce products, the answer is that the founders of these companies have created a movement. Obviously, it couldn't happen if they didn't also make great products, but marketing is the amplifier of all their other efforts. If sales is like hand-to-hand combat, great marketing is like having an air force. It was his list that followed his statement. So, end quote there. It was his list that followed this statement on how to do movement marketing that really opened my eyes. Here it is in a nutshell. Define a larger cause. Articulate the problem better than anyone else. Attack the status quo. Define a category, build the right team, use grassroots customer testimony, release news in lightning strikes, not dribs and drabs, organize events to focus attention, nurture your community, pick noble fights, strive for a large tent, work with press and influencers in the right way, stay grounded, and there you go. Now, just to touch on the first few, you and your company, in order to create a movement, you need to have an opinion, to be fighting for a cause, to be willing to go to battle against the status quo and enlist others to join you. That's a very different picture of marketing than post to social media 4 times a day. While I'm still working on what those things are for my companies, I can easily see how some of my favorite companies are extremely good at movement marketing. Look at Basecamp, Apple, Pixar, ConvertKit, Gumroad, etc. Now here's the second thing that converged this week, a book on positioning. April Dunford wrote an amazing book on positioning that showed up in my Twitter timeline earlier this week. Ramit Sethi posted about it. I immediately got the app or downloaded the book and started reading. And that's when the fun started, because April, the author, she responded to my tweets and then engaged and then followed me as I was reading her book. So why this weird series of humble brag flexes? Well, to show movement or earned marketing in real time. Ramit Sethi promoted April's book because of an existing relationship, and Ramit had already earned my trust over the years of following him and reading his book, so I took his recommendation seriously. Then April saw that there was an opportunity to engage with a new customer, and she took it. That resulted in a great conversation and a new follower for both of us. Crazy, right? Marketing is really that easy, but sometimes we see it as this big thing that's hard to wrap our heads around. At least that was my experience. So lastly, the conversation that brought it all together. I chatted with a friend this week who I haven't spoken with for a few months. This summer really got away from both of us, it seems. I wonder why. We tend to just update each other on what we're doing, and it was crazy because as I was explaining all the things I'm working on, she was so positive and reinforcing the work I'm putting in. And then she said this. Artists are really struggling right now at the exact time we need them most. It made me think of this phrase that ConvertKit, the company who makes the product I'm using to write the emails that this newsletter is based on, it's something they use in their marketing and even their podcast that they started this year, called "The Future Belongs to Creators." They even own the domain. So that's one of their movement statements that guide their business. What I realized, though, was that in that statement was an opportunity for the two businesses that I'm building, Craftsman Creative and this Benchmark app. The future belongs to creatives, but only if they survive the present. We need creators and artists more now than ever. I wrote it before, that when the pandemic shut down the world, we all turned to the artists. First, it was the at-home concerts by people like John Legend and Chris Martin. Then the late-night show hosts figured out how to deliver their entertainment from their homes. It spread from those individuals to the companies that employ them and distribute their content. Movies are being released directly to the consumer at home for tens of millions of dollars in revenue. Music is being produced and sent out to fans without a tour supporting it. We need artists and creatives to live our lives to the fullest. But with as crazy as things are this year, many creatives and small business owners are struggling to survive. That's the reality that's driving everything I'm working on right now, helping people like you build strong, resilient, profitable businesses to support your art and your work. So here's the lesson from this week. What I've really taken away from this week is that when we're super focused on a single outcome, for me, figuring out marketing, the universe, I'd typically say God, provides exactly what we need because we're putting in the work. I hope this week's video and podcast episode is helpful. Check out the blog post from David Sachs and the book from April, and let me know what you're working on right now so I can see if I can help in any way. Those links are below and in the show notes. And P.S., one thing I've put together to directly help artists and creators right now with their businesses is some free online training. That's initially I did it as a live training, but now we've recorded those and we put them out. You can go to either craftsmancreative.co or benchmark.app, benchmark.app, and you can actually just put in your email and get that free training. You don't have to sign up for a course. You don't have to buy the app, but I'm hoping that you do either of those things as well. But go to either of those websites. The links are here and check them out. I think that free training is something that's really, really valuable. It was really well received by the people who did it live, and I would love to be able to send it to you as well. So go check that out. Thanks again for watching and listening to this episode, and we'll see you next week.